2. And welcome back, everyone, to Real Leaders for the Global Goals. I'm your host, Kevin Edwards. Alongside me today, we have Seungah Jeong and John Salzinger, the CEO and founder of MPOWERD. Seungah, John, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Great having you back again.
Right.
I'm going to have you back again sometime next year, I'm sure, because we love having MPOWERD on, and MPOWERD's doing incredible things around the world today. But before we begin, we've got a couple products on the table here. And John, I want you to kind of walk me through what are some of these new products and what's the intention behind them?
Sure. So the intention continues to be to aggregate technologies and add solar to portable energy products. And so for us, we have a bike light coming out next year. So this is an exciting bike light that sits on your handlebars, and there's a solar panel right here, and it just pops off magnetically, fits on the back of your bike here. And so as you turn the light on, you'll see it's a really bright light.
Yeah,
it has
wow.
a flashing mode to keep you really safe on the streets of New York or wherever you're riding. But we thought that it was really important to aggregate and put solar into bike lights. People that ride bikes are very environmentally conscious already. And so why would you be using something that you have a replaceable battery and things like that when you can use this? And you can also charge this in the wall.
Totally. Okay, so we've got that right there. And what's this guy over here on the right?
So this is a really interesting light, and this fits into much of our impact. So this is a task light and a lantern. It's a lot more interesting, and we think it has value and innovation in design because this is a lot more fun. This can be a light like this. You can take this silicone arm, twist it around, and hang it as a lantern like this. Or waterproof or durable. This also charges in a wall. So this is an exciting light. It's also at a very low price point, and so fits into emergency and emerging markets, and also utility and hardware to wrap around your tool belt.
And Seungah, speaking of emergency, right now Hurricane Dorian is done its number again on the Caribbean. Can you kind of tell our audience how MPOWERD is giving light to the lightless?
So we've given thousands of lights to those affected by Hurricane Dorian in the Bahamas, and the way we're able to do this is through participation. And I know here at the UN this week we've been having lots of meetings, and for us goal number 17, that of partnerships, is really important. So we've partnered with the likes of Amazon Disaster Relief, for instance. So Amazon is a behemoth when it comes to logistics and infrastructure. So they partnered with us to be able to send lights to the Bahamas, and they basically take the lights that we sell. So they've shipped Emerge lights, Original Pro lights, which are mobile charging lights, all the way to the Bahamas for those who need them. And you know, again, since they're such a logistics powerhouse, they have the planes, they have the ground infrastructure to be able to react in disaster situations. We've also partnered with many implementers on the ground, organizations like Convoy of Hope, to be able to distribute the lights. And then also, participation is really important just at our basic consumer level. So through our Give Lucy program that's available on our website, we've had thousands of individual consumers say that they want to help. And whenever there's a disaster, there are 3 things that are critically needed, in addition, of course, to water and shelter. And those items are in addition to food and shelter. So those items are clean water, solar light, and an ability to have energy storage for things like your cell phone.
And you take care of, most importantly, that last one.
The last 2.
The last 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because of our lights that also charge cell phones.
Okay, got it. I'm there.
So our latest Lucy that came out is called our base light, and it's our largest inflatable light. It's 360 lumens and charges any phone, including your latest iPhone on the market. And so some of the implementers, as well as what Seungah mentioned, so we don't want to leave anybody out in the Bahamas, International Red Cross, Direct Relief, GAIN, and numerous other groups that we worked with to make sure that we get as many lights down there as possible.
When this hurricane happened, was it even a thought that you might not do this? Was this a thought like we need to do this right away? And how long did that take to set up all these partnerships in place, or were they already in place before this happened?
Well, unfortunately, climate change is real, and every year now, around this time of year, there's a natural disaster somewhere. So we now focus on preparedness, not just disaster relief. So we are prepared with the partners who can help us with distribution, who can help us with funding. We're prepared with our implementation partners. So wherever disaster may strike, we're able to deploy our lights. And we deploy in major situations, but also, for instance, there was Tropical Storm Imelda hitting the coast of Texas. So we were there as well. It's really important for us to be able to deploy our solar lights because, again, in those first few days when there's complete darkness, light brings some comfort to people. You can start to assume your daily habits again. You can take stock of what you need, and so it's an essential tool, and we encourage people to have them in their what we call their go bags, and we're prepared in terms of again our partners in our supply chain to be able to deploy.
We're in New York, right? So we even have them at Office of Emergency Management in New York, holds our lights and reorders them when they need them. To make sure we don't leave out implementers, funders, we should talk about them a little bit. So Sun Life Financial has given us lights many times. The Walmart Foundation has worked with International Medical Corps with us, as well as Amazon Disaster Relief. We have worked with Citizen Watch. They've done a lot with us with Good 360. So there's so many of these corporates that we work with that are really important to mention. Creus Energy, now Vistra Energy, which is a deregulated energy provider, prepares not only their own customers, but they give a light to our program. So all of these corporations in this funding make sure that we're prepared. Church of Latter-day Saints, another big one.
For viewers watching this right now, social entrepreneurs watching this right now, let's not misconfuse that you both are all still a for-profit.
Correct.
Absolutely.
How are you working with foundations, and maybe explain that process to our entrepreneurs watching this, and why it's important to get into the social impact space right now?
Well, there's a real value add. So at the moment, we're in UN week. All the leaders of the world are here. Hey, I'm from New York. I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm allowed to be here. I say all this in jest, but seriously, we don't think our public leaders are serving the public as they should be. So from the private sector's perspective, this is an opportunity to be private servants. We think that it's really, really important to engage not just consumers, the population, but other corporations that might not have the ability to sort of be a Tom's, for instance, but still want to help, still want to do good things, still want to put money behind initiatives. We afford that opportunity, and our lights are a vehicle for that change. So it's very easy when we go to these large corporations, because we're offering something that they can't. We're offering not just some sort of donation on a public service announcement. We're offering actual cause marketing and corporate social responsibility initiatives with data behind it. So to date, we're now at 3.3 million lives impacted, and we're about 650,000 US tons of CO2 averted. And that is largely responsible for that community building and participation of the private sector and our consumers buying lights.
So you're measuring more than just profit.
Absolutely, but I'd love to also add that our retailers, through whom we sell our lights at normal retail prices, they also become very involved when there's a situation, again, be it a natural disaster. So even with Hurricane Dorian, EMS, Eastern Mountain Sports, one of our great retail partners, decided that for anyone who bought through their stores, one of our products, or other outdoor brands who were also supporting the cause, that they would donate money towards relief efforts for Hurricane Dorian. So it's really amazing for us to actually be part of this community with corporations and retailers and other outdoor brands who are providing necessities. I had mentioned clean water before. One of our great partners is Catadine, and they offer water filtration products. So typically we in the business world, particularly in the outdoor community, like to come together to be able to do this work together.
John touched on a point, like he briefly mentioned it about 5 minutes ago. He said they were inflatable lights. What does that do for your shipping costs when you're able to package something that's a little bit smaller and get more of these lights out to some area? And explain the thinking behind that.
So it's form and function in one. So there's a wow factor to an inflatable light that makes it fun, adds value to the end consumer no matter where you live. So you blow life into your light after you've charged it, and then you deflate it and put the sun back in your pocket. So that's kind of fun and interesting and somewhat innovative, different. So that's important to the end user. In terms of shipping, we fit 40, 50,000 of these in a container because of the collapsibility. And then sort of the diffusion of any of our lights, you want to be able to alter that. So many of our different SKUs that are inflatable, some are a little more glistening and maybe go for a kid with a little bubble bath in the developed world. And others may be a little more of a matte finish so that the reading and literacy can be attained in an emerging market. While we're on product, one I didn't mention, I should mention, this is not an emergency product by any means, but our scaled model, the more people buy, the more we can afford to take our margins down to those that really need the light. This helps us tremendously. So this is Lucy Explore. This is a Bluetooth smart app enabled light and speaker and circadian rhythm wake-up light. So, and it even has like a rooster on it to wake you up. It has birds, ocean, you don't have to choose the rooster. We just think it's funny. But honestly, this does it all. It's a speaker, it's a light, and it's an alarm clock. And it'll charge your phone.
These are all patented, correct?
Oh, very patented.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when you're competing against like a global market, how important is it to have a patent? And also, do you ever think about maybe it would be better if other companies had access to this technology so we can have
Sure.
more of an impact in the world?
I mean, I can start real quickly. I'd say open source technology is something that we both believe in. However, our business model is such that if we cannot build scale with our sales on our products, we cannot then impact folks.
Totally.
So for us, it's a little different. But in general, there's plenty of technology in these that is open source, whether it's the battery technology or the LEDs, et cetera. In terms of the patent landscape and how we compete, I'll absolutely turn it over to Seungah.
So it is important to patent your work because we are a company that has mission infused into what we do. But again, as John mentioned, we wouldn't be able to achieve the scale to be able to fulfill our mission if we spent all of our R&D time, money, and resources on products and then immediately had them knocked off in the marketplace by a rogue player, and if they started selling similar products at a much lower price. So it is important to protect the work that you're trying to put out there. It's challenging though, because we do have knockoffs, we do have quote unquote competitors kind of coming after our space, but we are the market leaders. We are, John is a founder, of course, we are the inventors around the inflatable solar light. And then with all of these new products, John and I are both listed as inventors. And it's really a labor of love, and we hope an inspiration actually to others to be able to look at resources out there, resource needs, and come up with product technologies that help solve those resource needs.
But starting a business, running a business is challenging, especially if you're a social entrepreneur. And John, I think I asked you this question last time, and I'm asking you again because I think it's important. What's the difference between growing a social enterprise versus a for-profit, just traditional for-profit with no mission?
It's easier because you're actually solving a problem that needs to be solved. So there's already a built-in market for it. There's a lot of companies, they're great companies, and they provide services, but they have to put a ton of marketing behind forcing people to want to think that they need those products. Whether it's adding fragrance into a shampoo, which I know Seungah has done a lot of work in the fragrance industry, and she can speak to the marketing behind that. It's extremely expensive. For us, you need a light. You need communication. We're solving problems. We're helping the people, we're helping the planet at the same time, and we're doing it at a cost that it's affordable. There are, derivative companies that you're not even selling a product. Adam Smith, when he developed the ideas around capitalism, there was supposed to be incentives built in for solving problems. So really, social impact is almost a misnomer. A good company is kind of a cool way to look at it, because you're a good company in a multitude of ways, but you're really just solving a problem and you're getting paid to do so. And you're able to pay your staff to do so. And everyone in your supply chain in your company and your shareholders benefit. But you're benefiting because you're doing something for someone who needs something. You're resolving something.
Right. And Seungah, John just mentioned incentives. what are some of the incentives that need to change or are changing for leaders to take their businesses in this direction?
Well, I think the consumer is definitely speaking with his or her pocketbook. So we're a B Corp and we're also a benefit corporation. So that means that all of our stakeholders, including our shareholders, judge us not only on our profits, but also on the real impact that we make. So that does allow us to ensure that everything from our supply chain to how we operate as a business to the impact that we're creating in the global world, all of those things are measured and reported in the same way that our profits are. And then at point of sale with consumers, we're able to talk about this on our newly launched website. You know, we have our metrics of the number of lives impacted and the carbon dioxide averted. So thankfully now consumers are more invested in their brands and the products that those brands are coming out with, because they want to work with companies where they know, you know, workers are being treated correctly when they're making their products. And even with our inflatable solar lights, we're proud to now say that there is zero waste. We offer 100% recycling of every component in our inflatable solar lights. And
Locally.
very recently, with any light that had been returned to us for recycling since the inception of the company 7 years ago, we have completely recycled and returned into other products. So I think consumers want to hear this, and they've actually pushed us to be able to come up with a program like this, and then they vote again with their pocketbooks.
I mean, and as a B Corp, right, and a real leader this year, thankfully, graciously, appreciate that. One of our bigger funders, our last funder, was the Builders Fund, and they're a B Corp too, and they also were a Real Leaders winner this year. So you are creating community when we do this.
Well, Seungah and John, thank you so much for your time on the show today. It's always a pleasure having you. I'm glad we're able to meet up in New York City. Last question I have for you, Seungah, is, I've asked you this once before, I'm asking again, what is your definition of a real leader?
So I don't remember what my definition was last time. I might change it a bit this time. And I'm going to say now that a real leader, in addition to whatever wonderful qualities they're bringing to the table, needs to be resilient. So your organization will learn from you. There will, of course, be obstacles and opportunities in a business, and if you're resilient and you're paying attention to what's happening around you and you're able to lead through whatever opportunities or challenges may be in front of you, I think that's really important.
Well, thank you for Empowered for being resilient,
Can
John.
I say one quick thing to be really obnoxiously resilient? Would love for people to go on our website and support Dorian's victims of the hurricane.
Where do they go?
So they go to MPOWERD, MPOWERD.com, MPOWERD.com. And you can find our Give program there, and you can directly give a light to someone in the Bahamas that needs it.
Folks, go out there, get a light for someone in need, be resilient, and always, folks, keep it real. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Mine.
All right.